Good day to everyone. Welcome to this presentation on my research on gratitude. It's actually based also on a small book which I have produced during my sabbatical year, where I stayed for a few months at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Um, for you, dear students, I'd also like to perhaps present this as some sort of an example of a leadership, ethical leadership presentation as you know, it's already required. It's something required in your course. So just hang on and let me just go through this presentation as best as I can, and hopefully you'll find it useful not just for this course but for your daily life as well. Well, just to give you an idea about the background of this research, why gratitude? I just realized that every time people say, well, you have to think positive, especially when people want to overcome certain conditions of, let's say, malaise or conditions of depression or any negativity that may hover around one's mind, one's environment. Well, the usual comment people would give is, okay, well, try to think positive. But then I thought to myself, okay, what does it mean really to think positive? Well, thinking positive in the end would have to focus on something more concrete, something more tangible. And I thought, well, being grateful could be perhaps be equated to thinking positive, because there are always a lot of things that we can be grateful about. Whether it's the air we breathe, the food that we eat, or the fact that we're still alive, despite all the sorrows, difficulties, and I don't know, whatever problems we may be confronted uh, in daily life. So there's always something to be grateful about. I'm sure you've heard or listened to the song of Josh Groban, that there's always something that we can be grateful about. So we just have to look around, open our eyes, use our five senses, and for each of those senses, like things that we see, things that we smell, things that we taste, things that we hear, things that we feel, we can always identify a few things or even perhaps persons that we are really grateful about. And in the context of Filipino culture, when we talk of gratitude or papasalamat or in the value of utang na loob or debt of gratitude, when someone receives a favor from someone, the attitude of gratitude or that Filipino value of debt of gratitude or utang na loob can, well, usually propel someone to correspond, to give something in return, to pay back what has been given. And in general, utang loob actually delivers something positive in the sense that, okay, well, person did me this favor, so I will do my best to correspond, to please the person, not to offend the person. In other occasions, of course, debt of gratitude can also give rise to some unethical behaviors, no? Because out of that gratitude, that debt that the person incurs, no, for receiving a favor from a benefactor, he or she may feel obliged to give in to something unethical, whether it involves, for instance, foregoing certain standards or cheating in a small or large scale, just to be able to repay the benefactor. And sometimes that can be actually abused by certain benefactors, or sometimes favors are given with the intent of asking something big, something unethical in the future. Well, hopefully that's something that is something that doesn't happen in our case, no? And well, I'm sure we are aware of this, that okay, gratitude, especially that debt of gratitude incurred from a benefactor, can be sometimes abused, no? Especially abused by, for instance, a misguided benefactor. Okay, back to this topic of gratitude matters. As I said earlier, this perhaps can serve as an example, or something like a model or an exemplar of what you could do. Surely you can do something better when it comes to delivering an ethical leadership presentation. And in the context of our class, we actually are looking at a 45 minute to an hour presentation with you as a team, meaning the pair or three people, the team, considering themselves as consultants and offering this presentation as a way of perhaps proposing an idea or proposing a solution towards well, one or two objectives, such as enhancing the culture of excellence or enhancing the ethical culture in the organization, or helping managers, for instance, to be role models to their employees, to be proponents of their values, not just in thoughts and words, but also in action. And thus, okay, as the course requirement suggests, okay, it's an ethical leadership presentation. You as consultants presenting your product in terms, let's say, of an idea or a service or an intervention that could probably help uh, lift the level of ethical culture, lift the level of ethical behavior in a particular organization. In this case, the audience that you're presenting your ideas or your proposals to. Okay, so let's look at gratitude matters. No? So let me just begin with my presentation. So title is Gratitude Matters, Energizing Your Life with Thankfulness. No? Energizing Your Life with Thankfulness. So the subtitle also suggests that, okay, it's gratitude is a way or a means to perhaps add life, add more some form of energy, perk up our mood, perk up our attitude towards life, especially focusing on the blessings that we have. Well, we've heard this many times. It is important to count our blessings because with the habit of counting one's blessings, we end up focusing more on what we have and not on what we have, not on those things that we don't possess. No? Sometimes we get used to the many things that we have that we fail to be grateful. Because soon after, with the things that we have, when we get used to them, they no longer bring us the same excitement in the way we had, the way we had desired them at the very start. Like, for instance, you got a new computer, or you got a new, say, sound system, or anything that perhaps you enjoy the first time, but after some time, well, after some use, well, they no longer give you that much satisfaction. So the title also suggests, okay, that gratitude matters. Gratitude is something that is important. Gratitude is something that can affect the way we look at life, the way we relate with people, our relationships. It definitely can affect our conversations, the quality of the conversations that we have towards people, especially at home, and also, our relationships in the workplace. No? If you're a manager, an executive, for instance, being grateful, being appreciative, indeed makes a big difference, no, when it comes to enhancing teamwork and enhancing a culture of collaboration or culture of generosity within the organization. So here's a brief outline. So let me start with some introduction, then answering this question: what is gratitude all about? Why we need to be grateful? All of us have personal reasons for being grateful, and the benefits of gratefulness, both personal, organizational, and even societal. No? Society, we can also be grateful for the things that we have, no? As a society, as a country, as a nation. Okay? And then, how can we be more grateful? Meaning, if our level of gratitude perhaps is in the scale of 1 to 10, is at the level of 4. So, what else can we do to scale up? Or if we're already at the level of 9, not level of 9, okay, so what else can we do to improve? Or, perhaps if we're at the level of 10, if ever that is achievable, if there ever that happens in your life, well, we can get outside that box or outside that measure and see, okay, how we can explore further the use of gratitude, not just in our personal life, but even in our social life. Okay, well, the truth is, well, we always have to be thankful. The truth is, we always have to be thankful because there are always reasons which we can find to be grateful. No? Could be, for instance, our own personal condition right now after going through almost 2 years of pandemic. We can count surely with our fingers the things that we can be grateful about. One thing is that okay, we're still alive. One another thing is that we still have a job that keeps us busy, that gives us meaning, that it's a means of support definitely for your family. You still have your friends around. But some of you may have lost loved ones, and of course, we're hoping that they're there in their state, hopefully in heaven, that they're happy, definitely happier. Um, if they're in heaven, no? Hopefully that's the place where they are. No? That's our wish. No? And that's the wish of everyone else, no? That in this earth, somehow we enjoy some form of heaven, no? That happiness, that joy, despite the pressures we may feel in our work, in the society, in daily life. There's always something that we can be happy and grateful about. And in most cases, actually, that's the family. No? The family is the source of strength, the source of happiness, consolation for most people, if not all people. Okay, so let's move on. So a thankful heart will never be alone and sad. It recognizes the many blessings and good things that it continues to receive. That's what someone who's thankful experiences. No? With gratitude, with a thankful heart, we're never alone because being thankful allows us to recognize that good people have given us a lot of things. People have done us favors. No? Good people, and some of them perhaps we don't know or we never knew about them before, but they just decided to do something good that day, and we were the recipients, we were the beneficiaries. And well, a thankful heart as well recognizes many blessings, no? And good things that it continues to receive. Of course, well, sometimes we forget to be thankful. We wake up, we forget to be thankful of the fact that we had a good sleep, we had a good rest, or we have a job waiting for us, or family that's with us, that has been with us, and well, good friends that continue to support us. So by being thankful, we become more sensitive about the small things, because sometimes even small things are motives for gratitude. What are some of the small things, for instance? Well, perhaps okay, you still have your computer is still working, or you're enjoying good internet, or well, the aircon is still working, water is around, air is clean, there's not too much noise, etc. So I don't know. Well, all of us have different circumstances, and if we just open our senses, our mind, our hearts, our thoughts towards others, what we have around, we will discover surely one, two, or three, or many motives for being grateful. And then gratitude is usually also the adequate response we give upon seeing the continuous attention and care God gives us. So for those who are believers, well, we recognize that there's a God, and we have also learned our Lord God was always saying, for instance, to his Father, in this case Jesus, telling his Father, thank you to his Father. That gratefulness, the relationship of Jesus as the Son of God, being grateful to God the Father. And then gratitude also makes heart of flesh, our heart, a heart of flesh, not of stone. In Filipino, we have this translation for this term or this concept, pusong bato, no? Meaning, okay, well, we're sensitive enough to feel, to see, to recognize, okay, the goodness that people do to us. No? We're not, impervious. No? We're not like, a wall that doesn't notice or doesn't admit anything else, no? Any good thing from the outside. Hearts of stone are difficult to please. Hearts of stone are difficult to communicate with. Hearts of stone are, well, they seem to be insensitive about, the conditions of others, and therefore they fail to empathize. They fail to see as well the goodness others may have. So one will always find good reasons for gratefulness, even when saddled with an imperfect self, and that's ourselves. Well, we look at ourselves, we have a good number of defects, no? Our subordinates perhaps will tell us that, no, the defects that we may have, or our family members. No. Gratitude is also something possible even with a difficult life. No. We've seen well, people who are much less fortunate than we are. Of course, in society, poverty level, especially after this pandemic or during this pandemic, has increased. More people have been plunged into a state of poverty. And yet, okay, despite the difficulties they have, you will still meet some of them, if not a good number of them, who are still grateful. Grateful that they're still alive, grateful that they still have some form of livelihood that they can draw um, income from to support their family. And definitely grateful for the fact that they have met people who have helped them overcome the adversity they're in, the difficulties they face, no, because of the pandemic. And of course, even amid a complicated world, gratitude perhaps is that refuge that we can run to, no, that we can seek consolation from, seek consolation, especially when it comes to being bothered by what's happening around. Our default could be that attitude of gratitude, okay? Seeking what else we can be grateful about. That amid of the chaos, finding those blessings, no, that are worth mulling over, reflecting, considering in our daily life. No? And we often forget to be grateful, and we often forget to be. How come it's that we often forget to be grateful, and we often forget to be grateful. So it's repeated. Sorry. No? So perhaps I was just simply emphasizing then the fact that we tend to be forgetful, especially about gratitude. No? And this happens especially in the family. No? We tend to be forgetful about being grateful to our parents, no? Being grateful to our siblings, being grateful to those who raised us, no? Despite the difficulties we may have had in life. No? And some of you perhaps have seen some of these short videos, no, about gratitude. No? In TikTok, for instance, some people would take advantage of the reunions, no? To give gifts to their parents, to recognize their parents, to show appreciation to their parents for all the good things they have done, especially for those OFWs coming home after so many years. They're just so grateful to be around, to be with their families, to be with their parents. And indeed, it's always a source of joy, source of happiness, source of inspiration, watching those truly moving videos. No? And then since we're prone to take our loved ones for granted, especially our parents, no, or especially for those who are married, their spouses perhaps, and after many years of marriage, no, we need to reaffirm appreciation and concern for them. So appreciation and concern, first and foremost in the family, no, and of course, by extension, in the workplace where we spend a good number of our hours during the day. No? So perhaps I'd like to pause here, okay, at least within this recorded synchronous presentation or lecture. Pause for a few seconds, just for you to think about, the people you ought to be grateful to, and try to consider during these moments. For instance, how about writing them a note of gratitude? Of course, if possible, okay, to write it in a nice card, Christmas card perhaps, or even if you don't have a Christmas card, some piece of neat paper that you can write on short note of gratitude, as some of you have done in the past, I think, no? On my suggestion. So write them a note of gratitude. And if you cannot write them because they're far, or it will may take time to reach mail, that is snail mail, you can send them a text, a gratitude text, or a gratitude message through Viber, or through Messenger, or through WhatsApp. Okay, so I'll pause here for say 30 seconds for you to consider who could that person be. Okay, granted, our parents should be there, I think, if they're still around. If they're not around, at least we can say a prayer of gratitude for them. And then, okay, our loved ones or people who have had a very significant impact in our personal lives. Okay, so hopefully you'll find time to write them a gratitude note. And well, if you wish to share their feedback, well, you can just send me perhaps a Viber message telling me how they reacted, sharing with me, how they responded to your gratitude message. So I know of a group of friends. These are executives who have had this idea, and they have this idea of sending some tokens of gratitude, messages of gratitude to fellow executives or mutual friends. No? Especially given their conditions right now, these target beneficiaries, they have some medical physical conditions that keep them from living normal lives. They're retired executives as well. So this other group of friends, much younger, they're considering giving them some tokens of appreciation or gratitude, and also coming with it are okay, so, a card, a Christmas card with their handwritten wishes, no, well wishes for these persons, no? And perhaps some notes of gratitude as well. Okay, so hopefully some of you is generous enough to share with me feedbacks you have regarding the responses of those people who will be receiving or who would receive or who will receive your notes of gratitude. So here's one tip that you may consider, upon waking up in the morning and before sleeping at night, think of that one thing that you're most grateful for. Then pray a wholehearted act of thanksgiving to cap your day. So waking up in the morning, think of that one thing or two or three things that you're grateful about, and try to make that a habit. No? And then before you sleep, before you retire at night, also reflect for a few, perhaps a few seconds or a minute or two on the good things that happened during the day and the things that you're grateful about. Okay? Things that you're grateful about, your family, with your loved ones, with your colleagues at work, with your company employees, with your staff, with your clients, etc. And doing this habit day in, day out would definitely have an impact in your personal thoughts, your psychosocial makeup, your relationships, and the way you work. And perhaps it can also bring about more palpable change in the way you approach life, the way you do things at work, the way you relate with people at home. So, what is gratitude? Well, according to Emerson Hill, gratitude is a sense of thankfulness and joy in response to receiving a gift. So, there's always someone outside us who decides, okay, to give us something in the form of a service or a good word or a tangible gift. No? And well, in response to that, okay, to that act of kindness, that act of goodness, we actually are grateful, and that gratefulness is actually shown through words ordinarily, whether it's a verbal or written, or it's done through another act of kindness, meaning we respond. we pay back in a certain sense, no, for that act of kindness by giving another act of kindness, no? Corresponding with an act of kindness, no? Or an act of goodness, no? Or simply being okay loyal to, let's say, the company you work for because the boss has been always good. And in our research, in my research with my research with my graduate students at the University of Macau, I've asked a good number of them to look into gratitude as practiced in various professions or various industries. No? And what actually came out from the interviews with the employees was the fact that their way of repaying or showing gratefulness to their benefactors, in those cases their bosses or their managers, was through loyalty, showing loyalty to the work that they do, showing loyalty to the organization, loyalty to the boss, or doing their work, not simply doing their work, as a way of corresponding to the act of goodness that they have received. Appreciation oftentimes is shown through words. Even if, let's say, individuals may not say thank you verbally or write some thank you note, they would prefer perhaps to correspond through good behavior. So, what is gratitude? It's referred to as a feeling, an emotion, mood, thought, attitude, intention, deed, habit, or virtue that is evoked from receiving or recognizing a gift or blessing from a benefactor. So in this, quite long definition, I actually present to you something like as a spectrum. In various literature, gratitude has been discussed as a feeling. Then you go something bit higher from being a simple feeling to an emotion where you have perhaps more involvement of the whole person, more response from the whole person. Feeling perhaps would suggest some low intensity response to certain stimuli. Um, an emotion is something much stronger, no? So it's much higher in terms of intensity. And then from an emotion that can perhaps transition into a mood. No? Okay, sometimes we refer to people, or when we notice them, they have a good mood because they're perhaps more cheerful, they're more lively. In some cases, okay, they may be in a bad mood, no? Or sometimes it can happen that someone is in a sort of a perpetual bad mood. It's always difficult to approach a person. But a mood, it's something like it's a state, right? It's a state which can change from swing from something positive to something negative. And then from a mood, it can progress much higher into a thought. Okay, meaning someone's thought is, or perhaps um, pervaded or decorated with thoughts of gratitude in most cases. No? And that leads or could lead to an attitude which is something more permanent, something more stable. And attitudes can shape our intentions, no? Our decisions. No? Thus, also, it can also progress into influencing the way we do things. Gratitude can be seen in our deeds when we respond, let's say, more positively, when we respond with a grateful heart, no? Doing something much better or being more kind because that person has been a wonderful benefactor. And then eventually, when the good deed is repeated time and again, not just for a few days, but more regularly, for weeks, for months, one eventually acquires the habit of gratitude and ultimately something more stable, something more characteristic of a person, it becomes a virtue. Thus, when we refer to a person or we qualify the person as a grateful person, a person who lives or demonstrates sincere, deep gratitude, that perhaps is already a form of virtue that has been acquired by the person after some time of practice. No? So, okay, when we look at gratitude, we can look at it from that spectrum, from a mere feeling to something more, much more permanent, part of one's character, which is a virtue. And as it says here, okay, this gratitude, whether it's a feeling or it's a virtue, it's evoked usually from receiving or recognizing a good being received by us or another person, a gift or a blessing from a benefactor. And obviously, this exchange happens many times during the day. No? We thank someone, for instance, for the simple service given to us, or we thank a client as part of the habits. No? Corporate cultures would instill among receptionists or among their staff, no? Especially those that greet the customers, no? Or something which you could see perhaps or hear or listen to every time you visit a particular place. No? As I think I've told you in the past, okay, in Taiwan, I suppose it's still practiced these days. No? When you leave a bus, this is a public bus, the driver habitually thanks everyone. Xie xian. Everyone is thankful. Well, I think this also happens in some airlines. No? Well, obviously, we would prefer one who gives thanks, no, to do it sincerely, not just say thank you perfectly, meaning something something just sort of a matter of fact that it has to be done because it has to be done. So it has to be something that has to be meant from the heart, no, okay, from the heart. So gratefulness is also a magnet for positivity. Well, try this, no. Well, just reflect those times that you've been grateful to people, or those times that people have been grateful to you. What's the usual feeling uh, that is evoked? What what usual um, thoughts or responses would you have when someone thanks you? Most likely, when someone thanks you, well, you'd be happy. You'd be a lot happier because at least the person appreciated what you did, and most likely you'll end up well, doing more for the person, or you would gladly do or repeat the same favor to that person because this person has been very thankful, being very grateful, very appreciative of what you have done. Gratitude also repels the whiff of negativity that could deplete our sense of humor. Well, one of the bad things or worst things that could happen to us is losing that sense of humor. And imagine a workplace, for instance, where there's no sense of humor. People will be perhaps ignoring everyone else. No? There will be no genuine and meaningful conversations among the people around. And it would be difficult, for instance, to work as a team. And it's not impossible at all to imagine that unethical practices can perhaps take root, no? Whether it's backbiting or character assassination or in the end hurting, for instance, the other department, by sabotaging their work or hurting persons physically because of that lack of sense of gratitude or lack of appreciation for people, especially when negative thoughts, ill feelings end up destroying the roots of a good corporate culture, harmonious culture for that matter. And that's it. Okay, genuine gratitude is always something positive. I think we've never seen, or hopefully it's something which we've never experienced. No? That when someone tells you thank you, the person looks very sad, or when someone says thank you, the person is sort of expressionless. No? It's not meant from one's heart. No? So gratitude is always something given with a positive, positive tone, perhaps a positive mood, and it also evokes in us, the recipient, the beneficiary, um, a feeling of gratitude, and therefore also the desire to correspond, to pay it forward, to give back in return. Okay, so well, let me also pause again here, perhaps for a few seconds. Just reflect. Let's say today, in these last few hours, no? whether it's in these last few hours, the morning or the afternoon, or this evening. What are the one or two things that you have received from others that you're grateful about? And perhaps this is one way of reminding ourselves, well, there are those good people around who are just so willing to do good for us, no? So what are those things that we are grateful about today? Things that we have received from others, no? Could be simply a smile, no? Simple smile from the others, no? That made our day. And again, that's something which is free, no? Not difficult to do, but sometimes smiling at others is the most difficult to do, and especially perhaps if you're catching up on some deadlines or targets, and you know that your staff is lagging behind in terms of the support or the quotas that they have to achieve. And yet you realize that, okay, perhaps smiling is still something which you have to do. It's part of genuine human courtesy. Okay, so I'll pause for perhaps 30 seconds. Think of one or two things that you are grateful about. Things that perhaps will move you tomorrow to write or to say a note of gratitude to that person who did you that small or big favor. Okay, hopefully, well, you've identified those two, three good deeds other people have done to you, and find time to give them or to send them a message of gratitude tomorrow, if possible. And by the way, thank you for being around. Thank you for uh, hanging on, even if I don't see you. Well, hopefully, this short presentation could, be a positive influence to you, whether it's in thoughts, words, or some actions that could come afterwards. There are simple ways of showing gratitude. For instance, let's say Mother's Day, Father's Day, or some celebrations that you have, birthdays of people. It's always worth saying thank you or writing a note of appreciation to people. When we focus on appreciation, when by the way, appreciation and gratitude or recognition, there are some differences, distinctive differences. No? When we show appreciation, we focus on the person, something I think which I've mentioned in previous sessions. No? When we give recognition, we focus on the deeds of the person, and well, that's basically a good thing to keep in mind. When we appreciate someone, we're focusing on the person. Thus, you can appreciate anyone for that matter, even those who may not have given you much. You can show appreciation, for instance, to a kid, show appreciation to strangers, well, for just being them, being perhaps the kind person they are. Sometimes you may not directly receive favors from them, but seeing the exemplary lives they have, well, may be worth even showing them appreciation. Recognition, on the other hand, focuses more on deeds, actions. That's why in some organizations you have recognition day, and those who are recognized usually have done good deeds or great deeds which have positively influenced the organization, other people, or the society they're in. Children recognize that they owe to their parents who they are and what they have achieved. Of course, in most cases, students or kids may not be able to express, no? Because they're too young. They may not be able to express gratitude, no? But surely, just by being the nice kids or just being simple kids as they are, they bring a lot of joy. They bring a lot of happiness to the parents. which serve as motives for being grateful on the part of the parents. Well, here's another virtue which is important, especially in recognizing gratitude. Well, genuine humility helps us to realize how much we owe other people. In organizations, we appreciate bosses, managers, leaders who are humble, because they're the ones most likely who are more appreciative of other people. They recognize the goodness of other people. They recognize the help that other people give. They recognize the efforts of other people, even if they may, for instance, those efforts may not be rewarded or compensated properly. But okay, well, since they're humble enough to recognize, to spot those good deeds, they go out of their way, to show appreciation, to say thank you. I remember this friend of mine is from Hong Kong, and it's something which I would mention time again in various webinars or workshops. He says that it's habitual among Hong Kong managers, and he says, okay, majority of these managers, that perhaps they don't feel obliged to say thank you to their subordinates, because anyway, the subordinates are already being paid, and somehow the salaries the subordinates receive, their compensation, is a way or a form of showing gratitude to them. So he was telling me, well, why should the managers feel obliged to say thank you or to write thank you notes? Well, that's his take, that's his perception, and well, perhaps it's true. But again, okay, still, I think it could still be a good habit, a good practice to show tangibly, palpably, one's appreciation for people. Again, something which I would mention in various workshops and webinars. I've been told by some friends, no? One friend in particular, who's a manager in Macau, who left his previous job, and he gave many reasons for doing so. But then he told me, well, the real reason he left the job was the manager from that previous company never showed appreciation to him. Of course, he mentioned, okay, never showed appreciation to what he did. Okay, that's also some form of recognition being expected from the manager. But that's it. Okay, appreciation is something valuable. By showing appreciation, it's also a form of motivating other people, motivating them to do good, and also motivating them indirectly, perhaps, to be ethical. Because in principle, when we motivate people, we motivate them to perform, we motivate them to do the right thing, we motivate them to do what they can, and it's implied, okay, that we want them to be ethical, especially if we ourselves are also ethical. No? If we believe in, that and believe in the fact that, okay, the principle that good ethics also amounts to good business. No? Showing appreciation is something important, and it's something which we can consider, let's say, among the people whom we work with, or the people whom we live with. Well, who could those be, the ones needing more appreciation, especially at this point in time? So allow me again to pause, because I'd like to take advantage also of this recorded presentation, to allow you some, at least even a few seconds, no, to think. Okay, think of those people around you, people whom you have lived with, or people whom you continue to be around with, people whom perhaps over these years you failed. I use the word failed. No? You failed to show more appreciation. I mean, those people deserve it, being who they are, being what they have done. But somehow, because of our forgetfulness, perhaps, or because we're too busy with so many things, or we simply perhaps didn't realize it, that it's worth giving or showing appreciation to people. So we've failed to show appreciation to these persons who rightfully deserve them. So let's see, who are those people. And after identifying those people, what do you plan to do? Would you have the daring to write them a gratitude note or a thank you note? So it'll allow you around, perhaps a minute to reflect on who those persons are, perhaps one or two or three, and what could you possibly do to make up? What could you possibly do to show appreciation to those persons? Could be people at home, could be your spouse, your parents, your colleagues, your subordinates. Okay, one or two or three people, and think of what you plan to do um, to show them more appreciation. Okay, so let's move on. Shelton explains that the dynamic of gratitude lies in the fact that goodness has come to us, no? And it is goodness we give back. No? Okay, so when we show gratitude, it's always something which will be good for the person. No, we never, or we should never respond with gratitude. Remember, respond to gratitude with something that could harm, something that could displease a person. So it's natural that we respond with another good deed, something that would be pleasing to the person, to that benefactor. So here's another tip for those who are plantitos, as we refer to them, or plantitas, those who have picked up the habit of taking care of plants, growing plants, buying more plants, indoor plants or outdoor plants, as a way of um, overcoming, for instance, um, the stress brought about by the pandemic, putting your mind in something more productive or something more leisurely. Okay, plants. No? So here's a tip: grow an indoor plant that will remind you of cultivating gratefulness. Because sometimes, when we see plants, especially if their flowers are wonderful, beautiful, um, they can evoke in us thoughts of gratitude. Um, when we bring them out in the sun, well, we're thankful that the sun is there. When there's rain, well, at least there's water, okay, that can nourish these plants. No? So consider growing a plant. No? There are many places where we can get, well, not too expensive plants for our garden, or a garden to be something that we can put perhaps in our offices, in our rooms. No? Small pots that we can bring in, or a small um, pieces of or places where we can have an indoor or outdoor garden. Okay, hopefully you could find time for that. No? And as you tend your plants, no, think of making acts or saying acts or thoughts of or words of gratitude. So why be grateful? There are lots of reasons for being grateful, and perhaps dwelling a bit on this could propel us to be more grateful. Beginning today, no? Beginning today, beginning tonight. No? So why be grateful? Well, being grateful helps us to feel good, and it also inspires us to do good. It's something that could inspire us. No? When we see others doing good and being grateful for the opportunity of helping others, or when we see others benefiting from the goodness of others, and therefore very grateful for that experience, we perhaps are moved to do the same. No? We are um, moved to ask, okay, what can I do on my part? No? How can I pay back? How can I pass on the favors that I receive? How can I be a positive influence to those people around me? And then being grateful also is healthy, right? It evokes in us positive emotions. It blows away depressive moods and swings, no? And it makes us happier. One common finding in gratitude research is the fact that people who are more grateful are happier. And therefore, if you want to be happy, be more grateful. And if you want to be happier, be a lot more grateful. By teaching our staff, for instance, no, encouraging them to be more grateful, to count their blessings, they end up focusing more on the positives. No? They end up perhaps more satisfied with life. No? It's not that okay, we will stop helping them, stop helping them grow, or stop improving on their benefits. It's just that okay, we hope that they too would realize that okay, there are already blessings that they have to be grateful about and not to take for granted. And having that culture of gratitude or relationships, for instance, nurtured with the attitude or acts of gratitude, the environment in the workplace or at home can also be that, no, much happier, much more cheerful, joyful, despite all the adversities that we may have in our lives. No? And then being grateful is also good style of leadership. No? There is the new field called grateful leadership. No? Something which I'm also proposing as a leadership style for managers and executives. No? That when people truly feel valued, leaders actually end up motivating their followers. No? And it's one way, as I mentioned earlier, through an example, it's one way of retaining people by showing more appreciation, showing gratitude to people. It's one way of retaining them, keeping them. When you feel valued, you feel that you belong to the place. You feel that you belong to the group. When your immediate work colleagues value you, you feel welcome and you want to be with them, right? In general, that is what we see. No? When people are more grateful, more appreciative, you feel that okay, you're part of the team. Then, being grateful also spurs in us the virtuous cycle of generosity. Well, when we're grateful to others, we end up also enhancing our virtue of generosity, and perhaps uh, planting the seeds of generosity in the lives of those people we influence. No? Thus, we can become precisely that, a positive influence on others. No? And what a way of also improving the ethical culture of organizations, no? By adding the ingredient of gratitude in the way we manage, the way we lead people, we can enhance no, further that ethical culture where people realize, okay, well, being good is something that should be natural. The fact that you have a grateful and also an exemplary boss helps a lot when it comes to practicing ethical habits, no? Because well, you're supported precisely by the management. You're supported by your boss. No? So these are just some of the reasons why we can be or we should be grateful. Gratitude is, after all, a lifelong matter, and we need to live it. We need to live with. It could be an elixir of our life when hopelessness and pessimism warp our vision. So gratitude is there. It's something which we need to live. No? And well, for those who believe in God, well, ultimately all the blessings that we have come from God. No? And even for the non-believer, perhaps point in time in his life, he wonders, okay, where do all these blessings come from? No? course, there are some times, one cannot explain, why is this? Why am I more fortunate than the others? It cannot just be luck. There must be that someone, that great someone precisely to whom we owe all the good things that we have. So here's another tip. Spend a few minutes of deep breathing exercise daily. Whisper words of thanksgiving as you relax and breathe deeply. I think I have mentioned this to the group, but anyway, habitually I would mention this in webinars. No? This 4-7-8 breathing exercise. No? For 4 seconds, you inhale. 7 seconds, you hold your breath. 8 seconds, you exhale. 4, inhale. Hold for 7 seconds. Exhale for 8 seconds. As we do this, okay, as you do this breathing exercise a few times during the day, it may be a good reminder. Okay, well, we have to be thankful for the air that we breathe. Thank God for the air that we breathe. Thank God that our lungs are still working. Thank God that we've not been severely affected by COVID, and hopefully we'll be able to, brisk through life without, falling into this virus. No? So let's be thankful for the air that we breathe, for the light given by the sun, for the water that we enjoy, and for many other things that we have around us. So gratitude perhaps is the way to go. It's not, some foolish attitude of, being superly, uh, uh, being too positive, ignoring the negatives happening around. It's, it's just simply recognizing the fact that, okay, there are blessings, there are good things around us, despite all the negatives. And naturally, it's good to express that act of gratitude in whatever form it may be. No? So other benefits from gratitude that we have already seen, okay, we've seen that gratitude prevents us from overlooking the obvious blessings that we have, enabling us to refocus on the gifts of the moment. What other benefits can we bring up? No? Well, a grateful heart steers clear of useless worries, no, and anxieties. It disposes us to reciprocate kindness with good deeds. No? So, who wants to be always anxious? Who wants to be always worried? We've heard this. We should steer clear. We should, veer away from people who are pessimists, who are negative. Of course, if we're there with them, well, hopefully we get to influence them. We get them to bring them out of, that the quicksand, that mud of, anxiety or useless worries. Now, a probable solution is this. Okay, fostering a grateful heart, beginning with thoughts of gratitude, words of gratitude, some gratitude practices that can be, for instance, made as, rituals in a company, in an organization, or even at home. No? Could be that, okay, you can have a bulletin board, let's say, in the workplace, or a small bulletin board in your office or at home, where, okay, you use post-its or simple papers that you can post, let's say, things that you're grateful about. Or it could simply be a whiteboard, or not even just, a piece of paper where daily you write the things that you're grateful about. And the entries could be simply words, keywords. Okay, today I'm grateful for what? Okay, the food. So I just write food. Grateful for family, grateful for work. And we could repeat those same things day in, day out, because they serve as precisely that, good reminders for us for the blessings that we have. Because otherwise, if we don't do this, we know that, well, we're more prone to focus on the negative. We're more prone to worry. We're more prone, perhaps, to find fault or to see the negatives in other people. But by practicing, these grateful habits, fostering a grateful heart in thoughts, words, and actions, we help ourselves, We benefit from the practice, we become healthier, we become happier, and we also make other people happy. Then sense of gratitude immediately gives us some that sense of perspective when facing problems. No? It somehow clears our lenses. No? And okay, well, allows us to face reality with its negatives, with the positives as well. And okay, we're thankful for all the good things we may experience given a particular issue, for instance, we're facing. At the same time, okay, we also recognize, well, there are some failures, there are some difficulties, and yet there's always something good that can come out of something bad. There's always something good that can come out of difficult, unwanted experiences. For example, for instance, well, a client decides to change its mind, withdraw its former commitment to buy from you a big amount of products, services. Of course, that's a bad thing. Something that is that's something that is definitely worrying, cause sadness, etc., depression. But what could be the lesson from that? Well, it could be defining moment or a turning point for one to improve services, no, or once more reaffirm one's commitment towards doing one's best in one's work, and also in satisfying the needs of clients. No? Or perhaps it's just a reminder or a wake up call that, well, perhaps another business or another service would be better. But there's always that, okay, something good that can be drawn from difficult experiences, from problems. No? And gratitude can be that added lens for us to see the blessings out of those negatives. And then another benefit is that we serve others gladly, okay, because with that attitude, it's a lot easier when we have the attitude of gratitude when it comes to working. We become more helpful, we are less hurtful, we do business better with customers. No? And obviously, those customers, they will help us grow our business in return. Okay. So Christmas, for instance, is a time for gift giving, and it's practiced by many that they give gifts to clients. No? Of course, with the hopes of keeping them. It's not necessarily a bribe, but it's basic human courtesy. With it also we comes the desire, okay, to serve them better, to give them the best that they can, so that in the end, when they decide on who to go to as a source of, for instance, service, could be us. No? And for that we are grateful. Then gratitude also helps us to become more relaxed, more cordial. Again, another benefit. Okay, high blood pressure gradually goes down, and I think being more grateful, we count our blessings. No? We count the good things we have received. No? We sleep better with more peace of mind. By the way, these are some of the things also mentioned in researches, various researches. No? As part of the evidence, no? Of being more grateful. In clinical psychology, gratitude has been used as an intervention for those people who are suffering terminal illnesses. No? They're, for instance, asked to consider starting a gratitude journal. And that's something which we can also, it's also a habit we can start with. No? And having a gratitude journal. And a gratitude journal could simply be, using our app, our notes app in our cell phones, our mobile phones. No? And daily, we just take note of one or two things that we are grateful about. One, two, three things that we're grateful about when we wake up. One, two, three things that we're grateful about that we've experienced during the day. We can sleep better, and we retain our sense of humor, we smile more, and we laugh more. Here's another tip: open your window or look out from where you are. Let's say if you're in the office with a window, identify two or three things, no? Two to three things you're you find delight from 2 to 3 delightful things that merit your gratitude. Say when I look at my window, from my window I look out, well, I see, well, some plants. I'm grateful for the plant. I'm grateful for the nice weather. I'm grateful for the things that well, I see, the things that I hear, perhaps, or the silence that I experience, or the smell, for instance, of food close by. So look around. It's always good to stop, to look around and listen. Stop, look, and listen, and see what are the things that you could possibly be grateful about, and be so, do so. So, what should we be grateful for? There's always something to be grateful for. We've already seen some of them, so let me just identify a few more. There's always something to be grateful for. The gift of life and presently being alive. Yes, no, the fact that we're still alive, the fact that our loved ones are still around, our health, though we may be afflicted with some illness, no? And motives of gratitude. How many have suffered during this pandemic? How many continue to fear, for instance? No? Of course, we can have that lingering fear, but somehow perhaps being vaccinated or taking the necessary precautions or keeping ourselves fit saves us, from worries that may be legitimate, but worries nonetheless that could be addressed by putting the human and sometimes the supernatural means like prayer. And by keeping an open mind and fostering a sensitivity to gifts and blessings, we discover profound motives of gratitude by simply opening our mind to the fact that there are still good people around. Sometimes when people receive favors, right, from strangers, no? Or when out of the blue someone does them a favor, or when someone, let's say, is in a deep, let's say, deep trouble, someone just comes around to be a blessing, to solve the problem. And the usual feeling common people would have, well, there's still a lot of good people around, thank God. It's like, you would say, my faith in humanity is restored, or my faith in humanity is kept intact because of these good people around. So it's good to always keep an open mind, and also to be a blessing to others. That's one more reason to give people precisely the idea that gratitude works. No? If we ourselves take the initiative of being a blessing to others, no? Being a blessing by being kind to people, being a blessing by well, showing gratitude to people, being a blessing to people by being just, a good human person, a good human being that is just doing what he's supposed to do, or doing what any other good person would do. And surely, any small good deed, any small act of kindness would always be appreciated by people. And be thankful for what you have, because most likely you'll end up having more. The law of attraction, they would say that the more you, for instance, are grateful about things, the more you affirm that you have received so many blessings, more blessings would come. You attract, because of your positive thoughts, positive mood, your attitude of gratitude, you attract more positive things into your life. Another another tip: make a collection of inspirational short video clips on gratitude, and find time to watch them, especially when you need a spiritual boost. There are a good number of these inspirational videos. You'll find them in YouTube or other platforms. And it's good to fill our thoughts, our minds with positive things, no? Instead of filling our thoughts or eyes perhaps with things that are, troublesome, filthy, like, pornography, etc. No, why not focus on the positive? Why not focus on what is, health enhancing? Why not focus on those that enhance and make strong and purify the human mind, the human heart, etc. So, how can we be more grateful? So, a few more ideas before we end this presentation. Life is beautiful, it is a gift, even when it is lived in difficult circumstances. It is always a gift. Those are the precious words of Pope. Emeritus Benedict XVI. Life is beautiful, it is a gift, even when it is lived in difficult circumstances. It is always a gift. Allow me to pause here again for, a minute. How about reflecting at this point? Do we consider life as a gift? What are the things that we should keep in mind, especially right now, to make us further realize that life is truly a gift, that life is a blessing? So you have a minute to reflect on that. Ask yourself, why is your life truly a gift? So life is beautiful, it is a gift, even when it is lived in difficult circumstances, especially with this pandemic. It is always a gift. So, a few more things. From time to time, you can find ways to be more grateful. So, where can we start? So, begin each day with prayers of petition and thanksgiving. At least begin each day with with some thoughts of thanksgiving. What am I grateful about today? And then perhaps during your coffee break, think of two or three concrete deeds of kindness you can do for others, no? Or at least one. What can you do as an act of kindness for the people around you? Could be saying hello, kumusta, how are you? Or thank you, writing a note of gratitude, or you know, sharing a small gift, perhaps a small present. Then lunch break, recall something that you are grateful for. Okay, lunchtime may be a good time to recall, what am I grateful for? Could be your meal, your fantastic meal, or the time that you may have for exercise, that you're still able to do that, your health, obviously, family, blessings of work, blessings of friends, many other blessings. Sending one message every day, two or three messages every week, to different people. Of course, we may repeat, we may focus on the same people every now and then, because one message is never really enough to thank them for all the good things they have done to us. And at the end of the day, always end your day giving thanks to God that we have survived the day, that we're still alive, that we still have a job, that we've made a big, business deal, we've closed a big business deal, that we have our families around us, no? Good people around us, friends, no? The fact that we're still able to study, perhaps, or work, etc. Many things to be grateful about. Another tip: watch, listen, and reflect on the talks of Professor Robert Emmons, no? The guru, the recognized guru of gratitude studies, no? On YouTube, and draw personal insights and resolutions on acquiring the virtue of gratitude. There are other experts that you can consult regarding gratitude. You just search for gratitude videos, and the idea is for us to acquire, to come up with some resolutions, drawing insights from those which we watch, videos that we watch, or some readings that we focus on, and see how we can grow in gratitude daily by adopting certain habits, certain resolutions. Okay, so that ends my presentation on gratitude matters. And let me just go back to the first slide for us to see. So we started this session explaining to you well, the title precisely, the significance of gratitude, why focus on gratitude. And hopefully, this brief presentation has given you ideas on how to integrate gratitude into your daily, personal, familial, professional, social life, and how gratitude can also be used as a means to enhance our moral life, our ethical dealings with people, the ethical culture that we are interested in fostering in the workplace that we're in, and hopefully being a positive influence to the people around us, especially to the ones who are in most need. Well, keep in mind, okay, well, doing those small acts of gratitude are, wonderful means precisely to be a positive influence to others. So be that grateful person that the world needs, be that grateful person that your family needs, be that grateful person that your workplace needs. Right? Because by doing so, you enhance the ethical culture of people around, you enhance the ethical culture at home, in the workplace, and in society. All the best, good luck, and God bless.